Single parenting isn't easy. We understand. Most parents don't plan to go it alone, but you can still make the most of this journey for your children and yourself. In fact, if you and your family are on that journey, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Single Parent Advocate community and to our podcast. And here are your hosts, single parent founder Stacy Poitras, and broadcast journalist, single dad and friend, Daryl Moody.
She is the Single Parent Advocate, Stacy Poitras. I am Daryl Moody. Thank you once again for joining us on the Single Parent Advocate podcast. We've got a very special guest for you this week. Her name is Karen Stanley. She's an entrepreneur, a blogger, author extraordinaire, and former single mother, now known as Mrs. Karen Stanley. Karen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and be a part of this. This is awesome.
Well, we're excited to have you for sure. And Stacy, you have a relationship with Karen, so I'm going to let you take it away. You know her a lot better than I do.
Well, I'm super excited to know Karen, and I'm excited for you to know her too. Karen and I met through networking, trying to find solutions for single parents online, and we really quickly aligned in a lot of different ways. And we were surprised to know that we were both marketing professionals. And so that's one of the things that she did. She actually designed our Single Parent Advocate podcast logo, among other things. And she's always been a willing person to help with the cause, in addition to having some really great wisdom to share.
Well, thank you. And it's, I told her when we first met, man, I really wish this existed when I was a single mom. Actually, it did exist, but I didn't know about it over here in Arizona. And what you're doing is just, amazing. And you're blessing so many families' lives.
Well, I'm super excited about what you're doing with your book, Becoming Mrs. Stanley. I was looking back on the time that you spent with us, Karen, and going through all of the different educational series that you were a part of. And I'm super excited to kind of dig into that a little bit today. And, one of the things that Karen and I talked about, Daryl, was we talked about becoming the person you want to be with. It's kind of a mantra of mine that I want single parents to understand that they're not broken. You don't have to fix yourself. Just because you're a single parent family doesn't mean there's something wrong. Now, something wrong might have happened to you that landed you in a single parent family. It might be unplanned. So there's a lot of talk about, how do single parents kind of get back on the path to having a love interest, having life partnerships, learning from the past. And Karen speaks to that really, really well. And so, Karen, I don't know, can you kind of talk to us a little bit about, becoming Mrs. Stanley and kind of take people down that journey we went to about having intentionality and cultivating the relationships that we want to have with others by first kind of taking a look inwardly?
Absolutely. It's funny that you say, if you're a single parent that you're not broken, because I used to feel very broken and that I was damaged goods. And I used to feel like nobody would really even want to marry me. I'm raising kids by myself, 2 little kids by myself. Who's going to want to sign up for this? This crazy circus that's happening in my house on a daily, on every day. And then I went to my best friend's wedding, actually. Just a quick little background story about how the book even came about. I wasn't planning on writing a book. I had been single for a long time, 6, 7, 8 years by then. And I stood there and I was watching all these amazing, wonderful couples everywhere. And there was so much love. It wasn't just the couple getting married, although she was a single mom. She also worked from home. We were in business together. And we had a home-based business. So, you create all of these beliefs based on the past and things that have happened. I used to believe that maybe when my children were, they go to college, maybe that's when I could actually, have a relationship, have my own life, have a love interest and a romantic partner, because you feel so overwhelmed. How do you even like make time for any of that stuff? Like, when do you do that? I did a little bit of dating online, and I just kept attracting people who didn't want what I wanted, and weren't truthful. And it just hit me. I'm surrounded by people that have been married a long time and have all of this love and all of this light. And I thought, you know what? The beliefs that I had before, they're not true. There are a lot of people who have loving relationships all over the place. And there's a lot of people who get married again and they find real love, and they love and accept their children. And I've just been focused on all the wrong things. And I made this shift, two of them actually. So the biggest one was that everybody that's put in our life was there for a reason. There are no accidents. There's no coincidences. Every single person is there to teach us something. And I made this mental shift, like, how about it's not a bad date or a bad relationship or a bad marriage, or, you can frame it that way. And you can also, yes, your marriage fell apart. And yes, right now I am a single mom. And also, what did I actually learn from that? And this was a major, major, major breakthrough, because as soon as you reframe that and you say, I'm going to focus on everything that I learned. And sometimes you're in even dating, even going on a date. And my book is not about dating. It's about turning inwards and saying, what did I actually learn? Why did God put that person into my life? Each and every person into my life, all of them, the kids, sisters, friends, business, everything. What am I learning from this? Why is this person here? It's to teach me something. So let's learn something from every person. And then also let's talk about those beliefs that I believe, and let's reframe those, because that's not actually true. I am not broken because I went through a divorce. I actually also went through sexual abuse as a small child. That doesn't make me damaged goods. And I always felt that way my entire life. I have felt less than worthy of love and worthy of having a life that I really wanted, and a partner that I really wanted, because of events that happen. It's not with the events, it's just the stories we create around them.
Well, you bring up a really good point, about having endured child abuse, and a lot of people, enter single parenthood from divorce, but there are people who enter single parenthood, whether it is abuse or it is, a spouse passed away or came up with a disability, or there was some other kind of situation that occurs, that some form of ruin kind of landed you in the middle of life alone. But you're not really alone, but we're going to talk about that. I know, because we have you here. But, I think, sometimes the limiting belief is I'm not worthy, or I'm, nobody's going to like me, I'm damaged goods. Or maybe the limiting belief is I can't imagine being unsad, or I can't, get over this grief, or I, can't, I won't, I shouldn't, I couldn't. And it's tied a lot of times, obviously, to divorce, but it's also tied to loss and ruin of one kind or another. Or maybe it's the death of a dream, and whatever that limiting belief is, like what you teach about turning into yourself and making that shift and saying, okay, I'm going to quit focusing on sadness. I'm going to quit focusing on whatever that hitch in the road is in your heart. Daryl talks about that a lot too, shifting that. And even from, I don't know if you want to chime in, Daryl, about when a man takes that shift,
I'm living this reality right now, because I am out there dating, and I've had a number of failed relationships over the last 2 years since my divorce was finalized. And I kind of look at it as, every one of those failed relationships is an opportunity to learn something about myself and what I'm looking for and what I need. My question to you, Karen, is at what point as a single mom did you consciously decide for yourself, I'm going to stay a single mom until I figure this out? How did you arrive at that, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
That's a great question. Actually, I went in and out of that for 8 years. So I would say, okay, I would like tiptoe out of my bedroom and try to go on a few dates and then have a few dating disasters. And then I go, no, retreat, go back to your room. Don't date. And I would take like a year or two off and be like, nope, this is not right time. This is not. And I think sometimes too, I mean, really, you have to listen to your intuition and really pray about it, because sometimes you do really just need some time alone to heal. And I definitely needed that. So I think I went out and dated right away, way too soon. And then I would take a break for a year or two. And then I would go try it again. I would take a break for a year or two. So it was the moment that I went to that wedding was the day that I didn't say, that's it. I am no longer going to be, quote, single anymore. I said, that's it. I'm going to work on myself, because these beliefs are not true. And, what does she have as a single mom? Same circumstances, same 2 kids, also works from home, because one of my beliefs is like, I'm never going to meet anybody because I work at home all the day long. And which is funny because now everybody's working from home, but but I did that since 2009. And my other ones were, because I had them all the time, I had a lot of single parents. They don't have a co-parent. They don't have a break. You never have a break. And then even if you do co-parenting and then you have the week on and week off, whatever the schedule is, it's equally just as hard to co-parent or not co-parent. So if you're doing it all alone, both of them are equally as traumatic and very difficult. And so I just thought, what does she have? She had this self-confidence and self-love and self-worth. And then she had certainty. And I just said, you know what? I need to get those things, because I don't think that we are meant to be alone. We're not solitary creatures. And I know that we are not meant to be alone and be a solo warrior for the rest of our lives. Now, it's God's timing and God's plan. And so I thought, well, what do I need to do to build that self-worth and self-love and self-confidence into myself? And I thought, well, why don't I feel confident? I mean, really, let's think about this. And I literally wrote down a list, things that I wish were really different, things that I know, we all know. We know exactly what we don't like to share with people, things that we're a little bit ashamed of, or things we really wish were different in our lives. And we make little tiny, small improvements or small progress towards those things that we really want to accomplish. And I wrote down a list. So I really believe that as I was working through these, and I had, 4 different categories. So my health, I just thought, I want to become the person that I want to be like, the person that I want to marry. Who is that person? What are they? What values do they have? What qualities do they possess? And I don't mean, physical, tall and blue-eyed, although it's hilarious. I did create an entire list so that I could focus on it, because you're learning and growing every single day. But that's really not the purpose. The purpose is to look internally to see, okay, I really want to have my finances more in order. Because I went through bankruptcy, foreclosure, a lot of us done, divorce, leaves you in ruin. Well, that creates a belief that I'm not good enough because I have debt, or I have this, or I have that bankruptcy on my credit. And that's just absolutely not true. Not a bad person because something happened that left you in financial ruin. Now, I would like to repair that. I would like to feel better. And that's one area that we can, even if it's, $10 a day, or $10 a month in a savings account. I had massive IRS debt. And because I would just started out, shifted jobs where I was like a, 1099. And I'd never been a 1099 before. So I didn't do the taxes. I didn't do the whole thing. I was a basket case. So few years of that, it adds up real quick what the government says you owe them. And I thought, okay, so that limiting belief for that I'm not worthy because I have massive debt. And it was $30,000, by the way. And I thought, okay, well, it's not like I had some extravagant plan to like rack up all the IRS debt I could and like move to Canada. I mean, they're going to get their money, and they have plenty, and they have lots of patience. And at that time, I needed it more than they did. So let's reframe that, and let's make a small quantifiable goal to get out of debt. And then reframe your focus into it's zero. The party I'm going to have when it's zero, the trip I'm going to take my kids on when it's zero. And then I just put it on an installment plan. And I didn't even look at the statements, because what I wanted to focus on is the end game. I am making progress. And that's really a strategy to getting out of these feelings like we're hopeless and broken and damaged to, yeah, that number doesn't matter, because I'm making progress toward a goal that I have. It only matters how I feel, how you feel. And I know that I'm making progress. And I put a couple $100, whatever it was I could afford, a couple $100 a month, that had it automatically, just being paid out of my checking account. So I didn't do it. I didn't touch it. I didn't even think about it. Because if I looked at those statements,
grows. This keeps going through my head as I hear you talk about this. What you focus on grows. And so if you focus on the dark side of the coin, in this case, the money, the weight of the debt, then that feeling grows, and sometimes the debt grows, versus focusing on what it's going to be like when that is gone.
Yes.
Such a great insight.
Yeah, it's huge. Instead of like this huge number feels insurmountable. And that's just one example of all of the things we kind of feel like the reason why we don't feel good about ourselves. And then if we can take an inventory and just say, like I did, that was just one category. I really wanted to feel more confident and feel worthy. And so, and I wasn't out of debt when I actually, got together with my now husband. I was just making progress toward it. So it didn't have any power over me anymore. And that didn't determine whether I had self-worth and self-love. And, so I thought, family. I mean, one of the things that helped me tremendously was to say, what is it that makes a good mother? And I think all of us, this is so huge, because I always felt like I was never doing enough, and I was working too hard. If I'm working, I'm not being a good mom. If I'm playing with my kids, I'm not working hard enough. I never felt like I was doing any of it very well and enough time and enough playing time and all these things. And so I applied this same strategy to my family. And I said, what is it exactly that makes a good mother? It's not, we have all these perceived pressures of what we think we have to do in any given day, the PTA meetings and the volunteering and the bake sales and the this and the that. And we feel so pressured, which is a perceived pressure. It's not real. No one's making us do those things, but we feel like we have to, or we're not not considered to be doing a good job. And so I thought, nope, what is it? Because I feel like all of those pressures are totally extraneous, and they're not what's important to us, and it's not important to our kids, and it's not important to God. And I believe that sometimes we put too much focus. Again, here's the focus on what everybody else wants us to do, and everybody else's opinions, because everybody has one. Your ex-in-laws, your friends, your sisters, your brothers, your mom, your dad, everybody has an opinion of what you should do with your kids. And you know what? God didn't give your kids to them. And I said, I'm going to just be really clear, and I'm going to follow my intuition, and God is going to guide me to what my kids really need, what is really, really important. And I made a list, at the time when they were 3 and 5, or I don't know exactly how old they were when I made this list, but the most precious time to me was reading. I have 2 kids, one on each side of me. That was the most precious time, because no one was distracted. We were spending quality time. And what would happen though, is that I'd get to 8:45 and go, oh no, we haven't read yet. Hurry, brush your teeth really quick and throw them in the bath, and everybody's rushed. And then I'm so tired. Then I didn't actually read for more than 5 minutes. I'd read 1 page, 2 pages, and I'm like passed out. And then we all lose out on the most important, most cherished moments of our life. Right. And so I just made a goal to read an hour. So what do I need to do? Got to make bath time at 7. Kids don't know what time it is, just say it's bath time in a half hour. Right. So and then what that does though,
They
is
weren't
that
teenagers then, were they?
And no, nobody cares about me reading to them anymore.
So I have 2 cents. My 2 cents is, okay, so maybe reading turns into game night, right?
Absolutely.
Like I used to, as my son grew up, I would play Uno. And to this day, he has these these memories of these Uno wars of me and him. It started off, just with story time, and then as he grew, it kind of changed into game time, and then later, he flew out the window and he's a man now, and so now we have texting time, so it kind
true.
of, I guess, whatever the platform is appropriate to the age of
yes
and your child's interests. Yeah.
Regardless of what you do, Karen, you called it the most critical time. In our house, we call it snuggle, tuck in, and reading time. And we try to do it from 7 to 8. And it's, we all pile up on the couch and watch some TV for a little while, trying to calm down and kind of set that tone. And then, yeah, it's always a mad dash. You're like, okay, I want to start reading at 7:45. So we have plenty of time to read, and sometimes it's hard to take your focus off of following that schedule and just enjoy that time. And that's one of the struggles that I have, that I've been really trying to kind of clear my evening schedule work-wise, so that I don't have anything on my mind other than just spending that time with my girls.
That's beautiful. And yeah, and I think that that's where you come in. You have your own specific thing that works best for you, so that no matter what happens that day, no matter what happens, because everything's going to happen. There's always going to be problems, and you're going to be late to stuff and forget stuff. And at least I did. And then, but you know what? Because I knew that I made that goal to have that quality time, which, like, to your point, Stacey, it depends on the age. And you're exactly right. It's game night. So I still have we play game night at least once a week, because my son turns 18 today. Actually, today became a mom 18 years ago. Yeah. Wild. And then I have a daughter that's 15, almost 16. So, life is so different when your only ones are teenagers, because they're in and out all the time, and work and school and this, and they drive. It's crazy. It's totally different. But I make sure that there's one night where it's like, I tell them it's going to be Tuesday or whatever it is, that we're all going to be home. You're not going anywhere. We're playing games, and they love it.
Mono-focused, right? Yeah. You're really hardcore, like Daryl was saying, focused only on that. I would always, my friends who are out there who know me well know I'm a little OCD. And they'll tell you, you do not leave dishes in my sink. I cannot deal with it. There will not, I can't, it just pulls me away.
It's gross, first of all.
And so, I would always have to make time to make sure the dishes are put up. I have my self-control. I don't know at this point if that was self-control or coping, but we'll put that on the parking lot for now. But I'd get the dishes done, and then I could monofocus, So if you have little hangups and habits that you have to get out of the way in order to be monofocused, you have to kind of work backward and plan ahead for that, Of course, then we'd create dishes while we were having our Uno war, and I'd have to put them away again.
Those are the best memories, though, right? And so I think that when you're struggling, you get real about what is the most important thing, and just keep the most important thing the most important thing. It's your family night. If you only have 1 hour, you're working more than one job, and you're trying to hold it all together, like, a lot of us are, and have some grace, and then for yourself, and say, what is it that I really need to do the most, where if no matter what else happens, if I do this one thing, I feel like I'm doing a good job. I feel like I'm okay. And know that you're going to be guided to that thing, or those two things.
Quality time goes away, man. The kids, they grow up, and you'll never make a mistake by spending priority time like that with your kids. That's for sure. Sure. And, when you're talking about becoming the person you want to be with, be the person that your kids want to be with, and let them know they're so important by sitting there and making them the most important thing,
Yeah. And I applied that to everything. I thought what I really, really want. So I'm going to focus on everybody who I've, any relationships that I've had in all relationships. They're all teachers. And what kind of life do I really want to create? I think that I would love to have a husband And what do I want him to be like? What do I want his relationship to my children to be like? I want him to play with them. I want him to throw a ball in the backyard. Well, then what do you need to do? You need to throw a ball in the backyard. You can't just sit around and wait for somebody else or wait till your family is complete to do those things. To your point, once they're 8, they're not going to do 7-year-old things. Once they're 12, they're totally different. They're not going to want to do 10-year-old things anymore. So this time is so precious and goes so fast that I found myself, okay, that made me really be intentional about every single thing that was happening, because I wanted to become that person. What is that person? That person's kind. Okay, what thing that I can do to intentionally be kind today? Or that person is patient. And that's true of everything. I want to attract patient, loving, kind, compassionate people into my life and into my children's life. And so, well, what can I do today to demonstrate that? And it really helped guide me through really what I didn't realize at the time was almost creating a system for creating your own self-worth, because love comes from within. And you won't let anybody disrespect you if you respect yourself. And you can't love anybody, and no one will love you until you love and trust yourself. That's how you attract people who love you and trust you and respect you. And it starts with the girl in the mirror, the boy in the mirror, the man in the mirror. It's like when you take your entire focus away from everybody else for a few minutes, however long you need, take a break from it all and really go inside. Who do I want to become? And who is the people that I want to be surrounded with? And what can I do today? Even a small little thing. I'm just a phone call to a friend, someone who reaches out, someone who calls their parents, who has a close relationship to their parents. Okay, well, let's call mom then. And what I didn't realize is I was becoming a little bit more joyful, just in general. I kind of had a little bit more pep to my step. I felt happier in general, as I was going along. And this person I had known in business this entire time, since 2009, I walked in the door to go see him. I just worked with him. He was one of my clients. And he just looked at me like we just met. He just looked at me like I was a different person. And that's because I was a different person.
A different person, though, really.
Absolutely.
I mean, truly, if you had been doing excuse me, my eyes, if you had been doing all of this work, on the inside of you, what I see, or, tell me if I'm wrong, is you're actually becoming comfortable in your own skin, and you're not awkward anymore, and you're becoming your best, most authentic self. And you quit apologizing for your best, most authentic self. And to me, you are a different person. You're not a shell or an image of who you'd like to be anymore. You've become whole,
Well, and
complete.
yeah, and it never stops. Like we're always going to work in progress, and I'm always constantly trying to improve. And I'm no authority on anything. It's just that after we came together and got married a couple of years after that, because that day that he saw me differently, it was just after Thanksgiving that year in 2014, and he sat down and he told me how he spent his Thanksgiving, because he was divorced too, and he didn't see his family. His kids were a little bit old. They're a little bit older in high school and just started college. So he spent it with his friends, and there's this massive amounts of people, 2 families with 3 generations, and so much love. And he said, coming out of my marriage, recently, I didn't really think I wanted to be married or even have a serious relationship. But after that day, he said, I got in my truck and I said, God, I'm ready to fall in love. And I said, well, you should. Everybody should be in love. Everybody deserves love and a partner. And he's such a wonderful man, which I knew that. It was so interesting we just sat there and talked for an hour, and we've been together ever since. So fast forward a couple of years, so we're hiking, and I said, from my perspective, I feel like all you did was say one prayer, and like I just, boom, walked in the door a day later. But I was kind of looking through the things that really helped me feel good about myself and build up my confidence, and helped me believe that I deserved to be in a wonderful relationship, and it was possible. I think a lot of us are surrounded with toxic relationships and broken relationships, and perhaps we're not even, it's the belief that it's not even possible is kind of looming over our heads. It was for me for a long time. Like, it's not possible. I'll just wait till I'm later. No,
I was talking with somebody recently about being in a discovery mindset. Like if you're always looking to criticize yourself or to tear yourself down, or to, it comes from a negative perspective, let's say, it kind of your world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Don't do this, 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 versus a discovery, like, what can I become? What can I learn? What can I do? Who can I meet? As we start to feel better about ourselves, we become more open to other things to enjoy that we may have been like this before. We might not have ever seen that person, or been open to that person, because automatically you would say, oh, I'm not qualified for that. Right?
I love that.
You had been doing all this work on yourself, and he might have, said a prayer, hey, Lord, hook me up, right? I'm ready, but that didn't start that day.
No.
That started moons before, when you started this journey you're sharing with us. And I just think it's so cool. I think it's so cool, and such a wonderful lesson to learn about becoming who you want to be with. They always say birds of a feather flock together. And if you need to grow your flock and include some eagles in it, don't be afraid of that. Right?
Yeah. I love that mindset, to have a discovery mindset. And yes, I was teasing him because it seemed like he didn't do any work, and all he did was say one prayer. Which is not true. It was funny. But yeah, it just seemed like it was, I felt like, because I had done so many years of suffering and not believing, and just that negative belief system that it wasn't possible, and not going to work out for me or someone like me. Physically doing, creating small quantifiable goals and working toward becoming the person that I really wanted to be with, it changed how I felt about myself. And that's when the relationship possibility opened up, because I changed. I changed completely. And then again, to your point, Daryl, you don't get to determine the timing. Timing's all up to God, right? Whenever we're ready. And I think he's got the plan, and he's got the chess pieces, and we're not privy to that information. There's a lot of faith as well. But when I told him that, I said, I think that I was kind of looking through some of the things that really helped me, with my own self-love and self-confidence. I said, I think it might be a little bit of a strategy, or something that could be replicable and could help somebody else. And he's like, totally, you should write a book. And so that was all his idea. He's the one who told me to write it. And so it took me a couple of years, but yeah, I really was such a journey, that I changed how I believe, what I believed about marriage and men and relationships. And that's at the core, because he didn't attract me until he said, I am ready to fall in love, instead of, well, I just would like to have someone to hang out with, or go to movies with, and go on bike rides. Because if you have that mindset, that's exactly who you're going to attract. And so when you say, no, God, I'm ready, and you put in the work on yourself, then that's when God gives you the right person, when everybody's ready, and you've determined that with your mindset and your belief system. So I feel like all of our beliefs are based on our past. It's all the things that have happened in the past, and your past doesn't determine your future unless you stay exactly the same. You believe the same things and attract the same type of person. I kept attracting people that were liars. They just flat out lie. They had old pictures. They had this. They would say this about themselves. Oh, I'm on a paleo diet. I did this. I went to school here. Pictures from 10 years prior. Say they really. It's just
Now they have filters, Karen. It's
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Now they have filters. They look like cartoon characters. They don't even look like real people.
I mean, come on.
Those are emojis, Daryl.
No.
Ours.
And you have to do you have to do FaceTime, like have them do a Zoom so they can't do the filters.
I have actually before a first date had a woman say, hey, can we do a real quick video chat? And I'm like, you just want to make sure I look like the pictures? Totally get it.
Yeah, I would do that. I told my brother to do that too. He's single as well. And what I realized that I wasn't being that truthful. So it wasn't exactly the same. I was posting pictures, of what I look like, but I mean, I've found it's very difficult to really be honest about how you feel and really being vulnerable and really telling the truth about ourselves. Not that
it's the only way to get that out of the person that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be upfront with who you are, because otherwise you're going to meet them, you're going to date, and then they're going to find out who you are, which may be different from the person you presented to begin with, and then it isn't going to work out. So to your point, you really do have to be honest up front.
Absolutely. And I didn't attract real love until I told the truth. You just got to be honest. You cannot pretend.
And you grew. You found real love when you did the work, Karen.
The work is what gives you the courage to
tell the
be
truth.
Honest. Yeah.
Because then you like your truth, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I know we're kind of getting to the end of the show. So I'd love to have you, Karen, share with everybody how they can get in touch with you and follow you and buy your book. Do you mind just telling the gang, how can we keep you in our lives?
Oh, thank you so much. On Instagram, I am official Mrs. Karen Stanley. And then my website is mrskarenstanley.com. And I have, that's where I write my blog posts. And I have a lot of resources, actually, all of the tools that, really helped me a lot. And I have a newsletter too. So it's weekly-ish newsletter where I share just my thoughts and my journey, parts of my strategies, anything that I think that would be helpful. And
you got a killer song list too on there, all about the love songs.
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't know if we have time for a quick story about the love playlist.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was hiking, getting ready to start on a hike, and the song came on. You know that song, The Bittersweet Symphony? You probably know it. I mean, it was just like, yes, it's so good. And I had never listened to the words before, the lyrics, until this one day. I remember exactly where I was, and it just hit me that he just said, we're a slave to money and then we die. And I was like, that's stupid.
Pretty true though.
And why am I listening to that? Because that's negative. That's not true. I'm not going to be a slave to money and then die. So he's telling me
went through
is bad. That's his bad energy and his bad juju and his bad beliefs and his negativity. And I just don't think that anything's neutral. I think everything affects us positively or negatively. And so I decided, nope, if something is negative, it's not allowed in my brain. So I feel, and I did. So I actually did do this, and I created a list in iTunes, on my iPod, on my iPhone, and I called it my love playlist. So the requirements were it had to be positive, and it had to be, filled with lyrics that only talked about the possibilities of love and the life that you really want to create. And so you help yourself by being surrounded by the positivity. And it's not just positivity, but the belief. You're trying to change your beliefs about what's possible. And so you can't allow somebody to tell you that we're a slave to money and then we die. Nope, not allowed. He didn't make the cut. That's gone. And then I just had a love playlist. So I continue to add to it. And I share that all the time because it just helps people and I put it on Spotify. You can download it and listen to it because it's just a whole bunch of songs that whenever you have a music moment and you're going to listen to music, why not choose something that's positive and talks about love and, the life that you really want to create? Why not? So that's what the love playlist is.
Well, what I did is for everybody, I put Karen's story on our website at singleparentadvocate.org. You can visit the blog. Last year, Karen went on a journey with some single parents and Single Parent Advocate in Texas. And we had a 5-part study that talked about improving relationships with yourself, improving relationships with your kids, your higher power, the Lord, and we really, really dug in. And so she was generous enough to recap all of that and sent it to me a while back. So I've refreshed the article. It's on singleparentadvocate.org right now. You can go read it and enjoy it. It's got a backlink to her page. And I would just recommend, Karen's a girl that you would keep. And certainly know that we want to thank you, Karen, for who you have been to our community. And we hope we'll have you back someday.
Thanks for the wisdom.
I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.
So for everybody, we will be basically upcoming activities. We'll be having a Single Parent Advocate Financial Wellness Zoom. This is going to be on April 24th. You can go on Eventbrite and sign up for it. It's completely free. We're going to have a vice president from BBVA join us, as well as a professional coach. She is totally pro bono, leaning in and investing in our community, helping single parents and their families come out of the pandemic with some skills that hopefully will make us stronger together. So I have it on Meetup, I have it on Facebook, and we have it on Eventbrite, Single Parent Advocate, and it's called Money Matters. And if you have trouble finding it, send me a note. You can text SPA EDU to 64600. That's SPA EDU to 64600. And we will get you dialed in to make sure you can register and come join us. It'll be April 24th from 10 to noon. Save the date. Hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks, everybody. We want to give special thanks today. We have some friends at Venture X Castle Hills, and they've come alongside Single Parent Advocate to help us produce a podcast that we all can enjoy. Things like camera work, sound, editing, all of this comes together to make a great podcast where we can all communicate and enjoy our community. So really huge thanks to our team at Venture X Castle Hills and Work Innovators. Work Innovators is the studio team at Venture X. So if you need a video done or you want to launch a podcast, join us here. We really want to welcome you and thank you for being a part of our community. See you next time.